How to use Notion as a content management software for social media. We will go through the basics of Notion, how I organize all these different views in Notion, then how these different properties play into the management or organization of all these different property types. You can post with this type of content management software in Notion. You can post to basically every platform, of course not automatically, but think of Notion as the software that tracks all of the different media types on all of the different platforms. That's actually what I use it for. So let's dive into it. What is Notion? You can see a table here, and this table is already my free video long table. What does free video long mean? These are 3 different criteria that actually determine what type of media something actually is. A type of media can be something that is purely visual. Therefore, I have a property in here. So this table, first of all, we have different entries. These different entries can be a video title, for example, how to use Notion as a content management software for social media, as you can see here. So now the question is, how do we turn it into a piece of content? The obvious next step would be to record something or to write something. Therefore, in Notion, we not only have these entries into these tables, into this big table, but what we also can have is we can have an individual view. So therefore it works kind of like a blog. So you can actually input and also implement and embed different things here. So we could say that we would write a script for this title. The first would be an introduction to Notion, because if you don't understand Notion, it is not really possible to then use it as a social media. The second is then how to use these different criteria, how to use these different criteria. And you already see that this is very handy because you have all these different ideas here, all these different topics for videos, and then you can go just into one and it is basically here. But the main part of Notion is the organization of all of these different things. And the organization happens through all of these different criteria. So let's try to fill out the criteria I made for basically all of media. Every single file I have, I could theoretically put in here, whether this is a picture, whether this is a video, whether this is an audio file. I could theoretically put it in here and then distribute it or track the distribution. So now let's open it up and see what it is about. So we have different types of things we can select. So the basic thing is just to have different texts, and these different texts then have different colors, and you don't have to write it in capital letters. This is something I do. But what you can do is you can write these different texts. For example, I could add another option, let's say 3, and then you click on create free, and this actually creates this other option. If you then want to let go of this other option again, and because this is not something that is here now, but it's actually the state. It's not something that is here now, but free doesn't make sense for me, therefore I just delete it. You can delete it by actually going in here and then just deleting it. You can also change the color. So now I click on remove. So the first thing I have here, the first property I have is the state. The state can be either something that's post, this means the media is already posted. This medium or media is already posted. The next thing is time, which means I should schedule the whole thing. Planned means it's scheduled, meaning this could be a video that is already uploaded to YouTube and that will be posted in 2 weeks, but I don't have to do anything because it's already planned. The next thing would be an idea, so this is just a content idea. The next thing is a draft, so this could be an idea, but it's not already something that I can time, because it's still a draft. It's still not ready to be timed. The next thing is deleted. This comes in handy if you have files in here, which are actually, for example, on social media, and you had to delete them due to some reason, but nevertheless, you didn't delete the original file, for example. And then you could have rejected, which is actually something I implemented here. Not really implemented, but I typed in here for the reason of stock media, because then if you upload stock media, which is basically video files, audio files, and things like these, other creators can then access. And I just have it in here. So this could mean that it is approved by somebody else, it is rejected, or I also have, these are the 2 things for stock media, and then I have done. I currently do not remember why. So now we go into idea, because currently it's just an idea. So next is the channel. And the channel is basically something I think of as the distribution. So I think of all the things in my life as interests. And basically I categorize my life into different things. And because I want to kind of create content about these different things, I just created channels for these different things. For example, a channel about this here is called work. That's the abbreviation. The channel is not actually work, but you already know because you're watching this on this channel. But this means I also have a channel for health. If I want to make a video about health, I cannot put it into the work channel or into a channel about finance, but I actually put it in here. And this channel is a relation. So this is actually a relational property. This means it is based on a relation to a different database. And this different database is my channel database, which I won't show you right now, but you can actually then have an entry. The entry is then the channel, and then you can have different things here. For example, I can say that the copy, so we will explain it later on or explore it later on, what this means, is Insta, Facebook, TikTok. So this means that I have channels set up on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok for this specific channel. Or you could also have slugs or intros or different things for these different channels. So basically a channel is a channel on YouTube. It could also be a channel on a different platform. That's what a channel is. It's I channel basically my interests and the topics I want to produce content into different channels. That's also basically the concept of this whole thing, because then whenever I have something, I just put it into one channel. If I have an idea about AI and the future of AI, I put it into another channel, because this makes sense, because it's specified to the audience. This means I have it's not really a complete niche, but it's much easier for me. So now let's go back into the next thing. The comment is basically something I want to comment onto this piece on social media then. This would be a YouTube comment, for example. I wanted to use this as a way to type in things, but this is also one of the constraints of Notion. If you type in things here, there is not really a format that goes on. If you copy paste it from something else, you can do it, but you can not access different things here. It's basically one chunk of text, and this is kind of not something that's very useful. Therefore, you have to open up the page and actually set these different things in here. For example, I could not put in these 2 points into the comment section. The comment section is just the text section. So the text property, the media type of this text property is basically, I couldn't put it in, but now if I go in, I cannot really do anything with it. I mean, it looks like it right now, but actually if we go outside and we access the comment here, and now you want to add something else, and you press enter, then it closes it again. That's kind of a constraint I don't know how to solve. The only way to solve it is to turn it into a page, and then this item here appears, and you see that there is something written in there. So now the next step is copy. Copy doesn't really make sense. It would make sense to organize these differently, but I haven't. So therefore, let's go maybe into the table, because there I have them in the right order. So the first thing we need to understand, or not really understand, but to find out what type of content it is. So therefore I have created a time property. The time property has two different values, ever or planned. This means basically I either can post it every time I want, not really every time I want, but basically every day. So I can post it ever, basically, or it's something I should plan. So these are basically the two different types. And with the free long style of videos I do, so this is basically a freestyle video because it's not scripted, and it's a video as a media type, and it's also a long video because it's not a short that goes onto TikTok, for example. So now the first thing is the ever. Because it's something I can post ever, but that's not really true, because now I have a schedule for these type of videos, and therefore it should be planned, but I haven't put all of these different, basically I haven't changed it yet. So therefore the next thing we need to know is whether it's something that's freestyle. So this is me just speaking without a script, maybe with a few notes. This could also be an addition, but in comparison, the code means that it is scripted, because scripted is basically scripted language, and scripted language could also be code, and it's basically kind of the same concept. And I needed a short name because I don't want to have like I don't want to have very long words in there, because it all should be very short and abbreviated. The next thing is stock, because I just put it in here. This doesn't really make sense for you right now. The next thing you need to understand, or the next property we have, is it short or long? You already see that I have only two options for most of these things, and that's intentional, because I wanted to have it very, very easy when deciding which kind of content this is. So now, short and long, and excuse me for my swallowing, but yeah, well, I cannot suppress it right now. The next type is the length, and you can see up here, that's the name of the property, and it's also a single selection. Let's go actually into the different types of properties you can create. So you click on edit property, and then you can see here that you have different types. This is a select property. You can also have a multi-select. A select property has only one value that is displayed. A multi-select has multiple values but works otherwise the same as select. A number is basically a number. And this is also a beauty already, again, of Notion, because if you have different numbers in here, what you can do is, in the last thing here, you can actually have different calculations. So if you have a number, you can actually count the number, but if it's you can basically count all the values, which I already have here. So this means I have 28 videos produced for this channel yet. And so for text-based things or for item-based things, this works. But you can also say you only count the individual values, so the unique values, or you count the empty things. And if you have a number, let's actually transform. I don't want to transform link into a number because link has also entries in different views on Notion. This means I shouldn't really tinker around with these things just for the sake of showing you that you can actually sum up these things. So basically you have a summing up function. That's what I wanted to show you. Then let's go actually into the property type again for long and edit the property. And let's see what else do we have. What you can also do is to input a formula. And this is what I have in day here. So basically I wanted to have a quality control for, is it a Monday? Because if I put in all the dates, it could be that I make a mistake and then it is not a Monday. And so I post every single Monday, therefore I have this date in this format because it's the chronological format if you think about it. It's first the year, then the month, and then the day. So basically the timestamp for the specific date. And timestamp are basically another big thing here because I organize all my media by timestamps. So it's basically the year, then the month, then the specific day, and then the hour, and then the minutes, and then the seconds. And this gives every single piece of media you couldn't possibly create a unique ID. And you can then use this ID and sort it. So you can also sort these things, and let's actually show you the sort that is applied here. The first thing is the date that is ascending. So this means the oldest date is basically above, and then the newer dates go below. And then I have IDs ascending. So now let's say I actually have this video. So let's actually say I have this video finished, and then I can input the ID. Let's say this video has the ID 2022 0, so 003 for March, and then currently it's the 22nd of March, and now let's input the time roughly. And now I have an additional ID. And what this allows me now to do is, if I have a video that is already scheduled or has already basically a date assigned, then it sorts them above. Let's actually input something else, blah, blah, blah. And I am not completely sure if this works right now, but let's actually say this is an earlier video. Then the automatic order is chronological. And this is a very nice thing because now it's above. And if I now assign a date to this and actually schedule this whole thing, then it should go to the others. And this is how it works. This is so nice because the new videos, even though I may have recorded them before another video, will always go below because of the new ID, and the other videos are just here. So this is basically very handy when coming up with the schedule. The default schedule is always the chronological one, but I can have a custom sort. For example, if I produce 2 videos in a row with the same kind of type of content, then it doesn't really make sense to put them next to each other in terms of posting them on social media. So therefore, I have this system where I basically first sort through the date, not really the date, but first sort through. Let's actually go click on the sort again. First sort the date. The date is the number 1 priority, and then the ID, both ascending. So now the next thing, the formula. Let's actually click on this here because this is a formula. And the formula is format the date in and take out of the date basically. So the date is this here, this property, and take this variable for this specific entry and output the day in this format. So now I have 3 letters, and these 3 letters are Monday. And this gives me again the quality control. Because if I actually have, let's actually say I would accidentally post something or assign a different posting thing, a different posting day on here, then it would show me that it's Tuesday. And I can very quickly go through all of these, and if there is one Tuesday, I can say, oh, that's probably a wrong date, and I can see that the Monday would be the right date. Yeah, well, it didn't really work that well, because, I mean, it went just in here, because that's a good question. Why? Because, well, they're all sorted by date. And now, because it has assigned a date, if I take now out the assignment of the date, it again appears down here. So the date assignment is basically the one thing that defines the schedule and the order of the schedule. So now the Monday is a function, and this is also where Notion gets really good. Not really, I didn't want to say good, but complicated, because it actually took me quite some time to input this basic function and to find out how I had to set it up, even though it's not that complicated if you think about it. So not if you think about it, but if you actually know about it and implement it, then it's not that complicated. And also, lots of people online offer templates for these kinds of things. So now, the next thing we need to determine, so we don't have an idea yet, because I'm currently recording this video. The next thing we then, after I record a video, let's say, okay, we have recorded the video. The next thing I would do is to put in the metadata. So I have this file here, and the nice thing now is, because this is the video ID, and I input every single... So this is basically the video title also. This is what I'm trying to say. If I finish this video, this is the video title. And if you record something on Android, the timestamp is automatically the video title. Apart from the fact that in between the date and the time is often a lowercase letter, but that's very easily editable, you could say. So you can just bleep it out, not really bleep it out. And also, if you screen record something on Android, it also gives you this. You just have to delete a few things in between. And if you don't have the title, and if your camera, for example, your Canon camera has just puts random numbers or numbers in any order, for example, movie 123 in, then you can just take the creation date and actually input the creation date. In Windows, this is very easy. You just click on Alt and then Enter, and then you enter the creation date, the modified date maybe also. So then you have an ID. The video ID is the one thing that is basically not really, so you would think that the title is the one selection criteria or the one identifying criteria, but you could have the same title. For example, if you make 2 different TikTok shorts, and then you could end up with 2 very similar titles, or maybe also the same titles. For example, if I make a video that is basically the same one as this, but advanced, because I progressed in the meanwhile and I have developed this in the meanwhile to something different, then I would have maybe the same title again, because that's just the title that describes it the best. So therefore, the video ID is the one identifying thing and should also maybe be the main thing. So as you can see here, this is the main thing. You don't really see it because it's just another entry, another property, but this is actually the main entry. This is basically the name of the variable, and all these other things are just properties of these variable. So now, if I have actually recorded this, I would put in a second title. Why? Because currently, I don't have any thumbnails. I just take random thumbnails, which probably is not really good in terms of traffic, but I would just input an alternative title, like using Notion to organize your videos for YouTube, for example. It's usually kind of a little bit of a paraphrasing, and I could also, the plan is that in the future I can just use this secondary title as the title for the thumbnail then, at least when it comes to YouTube. And I also just have a secondary title that gives me more options when it comes to not putting in hashtags. So there are some platforms where you cannot really put in hashtags. Podcast, for example, theoretically you can, but if you just have a second title, that gives you the option to put in different words and therefore to make it searchable, even more searchable. That's what I'm trying to say. Then if I put it on YouTube or any other platform that actually has hashtags, currently I don't plan TikToks or short videos on this here, but I only track them because the planning would be too complicated, because these are only 60-second videos and I don't really put too much effort into them. So let's actually put in keywords for this specific video. Notion is 1. You don't have to put in the hashtag because you can actually just copy paste them later on to YouTube. Maybe I will show this in a different video, how to then actually schedule a video on YouTube with this template, or not really template, but database. So now Notion would be organization, maybe also organization, then social media, then a big bummer about Notion is that it often is very slow. That's kind of not very nice because you cannot really use it to type long text in it, but it works for inputting something like keywords. But if you input long text, then it doesn't really work. Content management is also a word, and CMS is basically content management system. It's often used in terms of business. And then what else would we put in? YouTube videos, YouTube creator, and things like these. You have to pay attention to the number of characters in the keywords. On YouTube, for example, you have it. I don't know what the specific limit is, but on different platforms you have different limits. So now we have it organized. If I then would post the video onto YouTube, and this is kind of what I do with the short videos currently on TikTok. So I use TikTok as the primary platform and here YouTube as the secondary platform, because I started out on TikTok with short videos and then started to make longer YouTube videos, you could say. So now this is already what leads us into the next thing. The main platform form is short for platform, and it's again a single select property, and here is the main platform. So this could mean if it's page, then it basically means it's a blog post. If it's tube, then it means it's hosted on YouTube as the primary platform. If it's a cast, then it's a podcast, and it's hosted on Anchor because I host all my podcasts on Anchor. If it's camp, then it's music and it's on Bandcamp. If it's tick, then it's hosted primarily on TikTok. So a TikTok video now would have in here, instead of YouTube, TikTok. Then I have Twitch also as a primary platform in there, but I don't use it anymore. Instagram, I don't really use as a primary. I use it as a primary platform. We will see later on how I organize these Instagram posts where you don't have video. So you don't have video format. Then I have Spreadshirt and Cloud and Shutterstock, which are just for something else. Cloud is actually SoundCloud, so this is for music distribution. You could maybe assume that I am a musician, but I'm not, not really. So I'm a very crappy musician, to say the least. So now media. What is media? This could be related media. This could be that for example, I read a book about Notion. I haven't read a book about Notion, but I have a media database. In this media database, I input all the things I consume. This could be a podcast, this could be a book I have read, and I also organize them again with different things, with different properties. And this could mean that I have, for example, this would relate, let's say this video would relate to Yuval Noah Harari's book, Homo Deus. Then I could input it here, and the nice thing now is, so maybe I didn't write it. Yes, I did make a mistake. Homo Deus. So I have two different things because I read it once in German and once in English. The nice thing now is I can input it here. And if I now, when I post this video, need the affiliate link, which is in here, stored in here basically, I can just open it, and here's the affiliate link. So this would open up Amazon, and yeah, well, this is just the media I created. And I also could say that in this Homo Deus, I already write a short summary. This is good if you then want to post on Instagram, for example, about the book, which is something I also have used. So now this is related media. This could also be, I also thought about naming it source, but the problem is that I don't have every single source in my media database. This creates kind of a problem. So now let's go to the next one. But additionally, it would be very nice in the future to have all these different sources you actually want to do, because let's face it, good journalism would be if you make a video about this book, for example, to also link the book, or at least link the YouTube channel of the author and things like these. So therefore I haven't implemented a source property yet. I think I already have something like the source, but let's go actually into the properties that are more important. So now, because I also make a little bit of music, and I don't want to have my music IDs in my content IDs, not really the content IDs, but in the videos and the blog posts that are actually about something, because music is not really about something, and there can also be different versions of the same song, and therefore I just have a content type thing here that is called either core for core content or music. It could also be in and outro for the in and outros of my podcast, which I also track in here. Not really, but they're actually kind of short videos, which I could also post theoretically to TikTok. This is kind of a workaround where I don't have to store these things, because one of my big policies is to either store something or to delete it. It's not storing or deleting, it's publishing or deleting. That's what I wanted to say, because this means I don't have to store an endless amount of infinite files on my hard drives, which I won't ever view again. And so this is the content type. It's basically just to sort out the music. Then recording is basically the recording state. Because I mainly create videos, and even if I write a blog post, it also is recorded then as the podcast, because that's kind of the system I'm following. I am writing a blog post that's then coded, basically, as I said before, because it's scripted, and I then screen record my phone while reading the blog post, with also visuals often attached, and then I also have to record it. That's the reason it applies to all of these different content types. So now, let's go into... So currently, the state of this thing here, we have this video title I'm currently producing is to record, but if it's finished, then I would actually put it into recorded, and the nice thing is that all of this is kind of color graded, so if it's gray, then it means it's okay, kind of, which also rhymes. Free rec could also mean that this means basically this is something I had before, where I talked about these blog posts a little bit more loosely, so it's kind of an in-between of code and free, as I said before, as I mentioned before in this other. And re-record is, it's already recorded, it's already stored, but it should be re-recorded because there's a mistake in it there, for example. The next thing now is the write situation. And the write situation is something I have to be better, not really be better at, but I have to have more detailed in the future, because currently the right situation is as follows. Creative means I have all the rights to a video. I have the text right, nobody has written the text, for example. I can use quotes in kind of a journalistic manner, but I cannot use any foreign property. Not really foreign property, but external property. So if it's a video on TikTok, for example, which is a stitch, which has somebody else in the video, and I just react to it, then I don't have the rights to this other video. I would then say it's foreign video. External would also be possible, but I just call it foreign, even though that's not really the right word, I know. Foreign text would be, I use the lyrics, for example, of a song, and I sing the cover of the song. Therefore, foreign text not only applies to songs, but also if I use anything else that has foreign text. For example, a larger quote out of a book, for example, which then would also mean foreign text. Why is this so important? Because if you, for example, post a video on TikTok and you actually take the sounds from TikTok. So this could be a song that is copyrighted, then I would go in here and I would put in foreign audio. And if I now want to copy paste all of these things to YouTube, then of course on YouTube it kind of works. That YouTube recognizes, okay, this is a copyrighted song, and what YouTube usually does is it gives the money, the AdSense money, to the copyright owner because of YouTube's copy ID system. But if you now, for example, have a business account on TikTok, and you then take the audio from TikTok, you cannot post it on another platform. If you take the business account, there is basically a licensed library you can use that is not the mainstream popular music, it's just stock music basically, but you cannot post it to another platform. Therefore, it would make sense to detail it more into audio right, video right, and visual right or text right. Currently I have it like this because I haven't done this. For example, if I have a duet or stitch, for example, if this is a short, let's say, I could show you this later on in the different views of this database, but if I have a short here, then I just put in a short that is also a duet or a stitch on TikTok. Then I have somebody else in the video, and this somebody else works only on TikTok, because TikTok actually manages the rights, because it links them. But if you then post it to YouTube, the other person actually had to say, okay, it's okay that you post it on YouTube because it's my property. This video material is my property, and you cannot just put it onto YouTube without me asking. So therefore, duet stitch is a criteria, which means I don't post it to YouTube or Instagram. The same would be true for Instagram, but since I use TikTok as the main short video platform, this only applies for TikTok right now. So let's actually put this into creative again, because in this video, apart from the fact that I'm screen recording Notion, and therefore Notion would also have copyright. This is also kind of a problem with video games in general, or was in the past, because it's a copyright of the producers of this video game. And it's not totally clear that you can just screen record it and output it to the internet for your amusement. So copy now. What is copy? Copy means the copy platform. So now, this video goes onto YouTube, as I already said. If it is scheduled on YouTube or posted on YouTube, then I would put in it's on YouTube here. If I then take it and post it to Instagram TV, not really Instagram TV anymore, but Instagram video, and then additionally onto Facebook, then I would go into here, which basically means copy platform, and I would take the exact same video with the exact same title, with the exact same structure of the keywords and things like these, and I would then say, okay, I have it copied onto Instagram and Facebook. That's how it works. I also have a few different things in here. You can also post it to Twitter, Byte, Twitter, and things like these. So the different platforms. Now, the language is something I have in here. Usually the standard language for me is English, but I do some videos in German, so therefore I have it in here. Also, it's very useful because most of these things apply to many different things, to many different data entries. Also, for the media database I already mentioned, where I have all my books, and then I can say, oh, I watched this movie in English, and then I can go in down here, for example, and can say how many videos are in English by counting all the unique values, for example. I don't really know if it works like this, but if you have a view where you only display these things, because you can select also for these properties, as you can see here, these are the sorts. So you have a sort and you also have selections, which we will cover shortly. Now, native view is something I have in here for, okay, how many views did this get on the native platform? But I don't really use it because I have an Excel where I track basically the accumulated data, for example, of my YouTube channel. Because it doesn't really, the problem is that TikTok is a platform that doesn't let you get your overall views. Therefore, I have basically, until, I haven't really updated it, but I have a gigantic Excel where I input the views of the individual videos, which takes quite a lot of time. FSK is basically the German word for age restriction, and this could be, if you make a joke about alcohol, it could be that you should maybe age restricted on YouTube, for example. But I don't really use it anymore because I think it just makes more sense to make videos only without age restriction. You can also say on YouTube it's not for kids, but that's kind of the standard, therefore I don't use this anymore. Share. What does share now mean? It means if you create a medium, such as a video, and then you post it to YouTube, you could also post it to Facebook. What you also could do is you post the link to Facebook. So if you now share this video just to Facebook or to Instagram or to Twitter, then you would put it in here. But since I haven't tracked all of these different things, it's not that I completely don't use it. I use it for certain types, but there are just so many properties to track it that I sometimes have to concentrate on a few, even though it doesn't really make sense. But, well, it's not so necessary to know on which platforms it is automatically shared. For example, if you post something to Instagram, you can also automatically post a link to it on Twitter, so share it to Twitter, and also to Tumblr, which is very nice, and it happens every time I post not a video, but it only works for the grid posts on Instagram, but then you can input it here. And then you have it tracked, and you know what media is on these different platforms and what you can still share and post. For example, if you have something you want to post to Instagram, then you can just go through all of the things you haven't shared to Instagram and just share a link to Instagram or to Twitter. And this, with this template. Now the quality is something that applies, so again, a two distinction, very easily distinguishable, you could say. It's high quality or low quality. In terms of video and audio, this means I have recorded it on a professional audio device like the Zoom H6 I'm currently using. Low quality means phone quality. Phone quality, again, because I was not really clear when I said this. This means it's recorded on my phone or even crappier. So now, this applies for music, this also applies for a lot of different things. With videos, I try to record all these long videos with professional audio because it's just better, I guess. Also nicer to listen to. And you can also listen to it as a podcast, maybe better, if it's more professional. Then I have a rating. This applies mostly for rating the different things about music. So I can show you the music template shortly, I guess. So now, this is the rating. It's just a rating 1 star to 5 star, and then you can sort it again. The tools. What are the tools? The tools are basically things I own, theoretically. But in terms of this, it's again custom made for music because I can input the different instruments I've used. It's a synthesizer, piano, a drum, a voice, or a guitar, for example. My voice or a guitar, and this is the tool. It should be called instruments, I guess. But I planned to use it much more broadly, so therefore the idea is that I could also have a relational property, which is called stuff actually. So this is kind of not really the same thing, but it shouldn't be called tool because tool is too general, too universal. And in stuff, I can search through my stuff property. So basically I have, for example, the Marshall Major 2 Bluetooth Bluetooth headset, which I had in the past, and then I can just put it in here if it's a video about this. And then in my stuff database, which you can see here, I would then have maybe an affiliate link, or maybe a short description, or maybe the benefits and the disadvantages of having this headphone, because I can write it into the different things, that I don't have to make a piece of content about it, because I just can write it into the data entry. So I could open this as a page and then can say after I use them, well, they are not very good. So let's go in here and write benefits. And this is something that I can then use in a freestyle video, or also maybe if I write a blog post about it and then turn it into a podcast later on. So benefits, it's brown and things like these. I don't really wanna now. Yeah, well, you get it. We want to move on. So performed by and written by is something that is also just for music, because things are performed, for example, by a traditional song, it's basically copyright, because I also needed this database to be applicable to all the music I plan to publish or maybe have already published. Genre, again, it's for music because it's the different genres you put in. If you release music, you actually have to input a genre on RouteNode, my music distribution service. These are the genres that are available, and then I just know, because it takes a lot of time to open up RouteNode, and because these websites often are slow, therefore to have just one place where you can see all of the things you have ever produced is just so handy. So now, the next things are also formulas. These formulas are basically also quality control formulas. They are, because if I want to check the schedule again, it's very easy to see that there is not a 1 or a 0 in there. It's all year 2022. And the same is true with the month. You can see, oh, it's month 1, month 2, and therefore it's again quality control, because it goes from 1 to 7. And if there is a 5 in between there, and the 5 is in between the 1 and the 2, then it's again something you can recognize much more easier than otherwise. And the day also is just a day. So I can show you these formulas because maybe it's important to you. Maybe you want to recreate these formulas, then you can maybe pause the video. Well, let's go again into the property type, edit property. No, I can. Oh yeah, I have to open it up. So here is the same thing as before. You take the variable date and then you output day. And month is the same, just for month. This is the thing you have to know. And then year is for 4 year letters. If you only made 2, probably it would take the last 2. Maybe let's try this out. Yes, it does. So now let's input. It's very intelligent actually. What happens if we input 5? It puts a 0 in front of it. Very, very nice. So now let's go into the next one. The next one is the number. There's kind of a sorting number I've used in the past, especially in terms of file management, because you have to sort all of these files somewhere. I recorded actually a podcast where we recorded roughly about 40 episodes, and you cannot have all of these episodes in your mind somewhere. So therefore the order of these episodes has to be set sometimes, and therefore I have a number, which I don't use anymore because I now have intelligent sorting. The German title is something I use sometimes. I actually don't really need it in this core database. Core is basically the core things I produce, therefore the name core. Source is something for the future, where I would input papers, articles, and things like these, or Wikipedia links, where I then, when I publish a video, I can go basically, let's go to the main title again. I could then go in, if I publish a video, and then just go into source. But the problem again is that the sources are formatted the same way as the comments before. So therefore the sources are actually better if I input them here. And I use these different sources in here. A problem is also if you copy paste them to YouTube now, then they have brackets. So HTML type text has brackets around it, and you cannot just copy paste it, which is kind of annoying. But well, I can't really get over it right now. Maybe you know a solution, so maybe write it in the comments if you have a solution. So this is the free long video database, and all these other ones, all these other views of this one database, which has basically at this point in time, probably a few thousand entries. So let's go into all of these different entries. Not really entries. So again, when it comes to Notion, you have to understand that there are these tables. These tables are basically just a view of the entries of these variables which have different properties. And these variables can be a blog post if you open them up as a page, but they can also have just different entries. The nice thing about Notion is that you can sort them. As we already discussed, I sort this database by date and then ID. The next thing is that you don't only have to sort here, but you also have a filter. And a filter is what I have used to input all the data in here. And this is also why, if I create something new here, it automatically applies all the filters, because it already is a filter database. It's already all the videos, all the database entries with this entry in time ever, with this entry in type called free, with this entry in length called long. So therefore, if you now want to input something, you can just use all these filters basically to automatically fill out all the fields you want to have filled out, which is also very convenient. So now Notion has actually kind of very recently made this kind of new. Before, the filter looked like this. So you could make filter groups. This is basically a big box around these filters, and then you could apply another rule, for example, the channel, because the channel was something I actually wanted to have differently organized than the other ones, because the other ones are the things that are fixed. Every time I visit this database, I want these properties to be fixed. So with the sorting, you can do a lot of different things again. Let's actually go through it. So the type, for example, out of all of these different properties, you select type. And then you can say the type is or is not, or is empty or is not empty. Is empty if there is just not an entry in there, which can also be nice. For example, if you have an idea database and you just input random ideas, and once you set the thing to idea or to record and it's not empty anymore, then it's gone out of this database, which would also be, a nice function, I guess. So therefore, I have an AND function. So this is basically Boolean logic. It's actually called Boolean logic, which applies to computer science, but it also applies to language, kind of, at least sometimes, in terms of correlations and causations. But in here, we just have two very easy functions. AND means both need to be fulfilled. So this means this is one criteria. The type needs to be free, but additionally, the length needs also to be long. If I put in here an OR, then the entry with its properties would only have to fulfill one single criteria to show up here. So this is the difference between an AND and an OR function. So this is basically a gigantic AND function. And I now can input an additional filter for organizing the different channels, which I have in here. This is the channel filter, which is, again, so now, different filters combined into a view, not really into a view, but in a view, you could have filters combined, which now are called rule. And if you just use a single filter, then they show up here. And I have all the different things I do. For example, I have a brand for, what can we use? Just use music as an example. I have a channel for music. And if I want the music to be displayed here, I just click on music, and it makes sense to have this accessible here and not within this bigger rule. And form is also something I have in here because I use it to upload it to YouTube. I can say basically the platform does not contain YouTube. And as long as it doesn't contain YouTube, it is not uploaded to YouTube. So in the recent days, I have scheduled all of these free long videos to YouTube now. So basically normal YouTube videos. And every time I then go into here, so basically I can show it to you. So you go in here and you click on the form does not contain YouTube. And there is not a single thing that the form doesn't contain YouTube. Therefore, you can just go in here. And this is very nice about this recent update. You can go and click it away, which is, again, so let's take this idea we are currently producing and let's take it out. And now, let's say it is not uploaded to YouTube. And the same goes for it is not uploaded to the blog. It is not uploaded to the podcast. It is not uploaded to Bandcamp and TikTok and things like this. So, it is not uploaded to YouTube yet. Now, I would go in, this is kind of my workflow, I would copy the ID. Then I would go into the file explorer search for this ID. This ID doesn't exist right now, but I could search for this ID, basically search through all of my files, and only one single file has this ID. And that's what's so beautiful about this ID system, because I can just go in and search my whole notebook, all my drives, and I will find this file. And because of my post or delete approach, which also includes that I don't have alternative versions, or I try to not have any alternative versions, I only have one single file, which in terms of this video now is the screen recording. I actually can show you the screen recorder. Here, this is the screen recording, and it's infinitely like a mirror. So funny. But this creates a file. And once this file is outputted, it has basically everything in it. And if I would edit the video, I would only keep the final file. That's what the ID system is about. And now I could go and search for this in a different window. I then have the file appear. I don't want to show this to you because probably I make a mistake and I show you something I don't want to show you, like any data on my notebook I don't want to show publicly, and therefore I don't have this set up right now. But I would go into my file explorer and into the folder. You can also have bigger folders where you have different folders for each channel, which would also be nice. And then you could search the whole folder with the subfolders for this ID, and it would turn up. Then you take the thing and you upload it to YouTube, and then as soon as it is uploaded and you pick the thumbnail, you would go in here in platform and then YouTube, and then it's gone. So if you have multiple videos, this means you can always access them from the same location, and this also reduces mistakes. If you upload hundreds of videos to different platforms, it actually makes sense that everything is completely standardized and you just don't want to mess things up, or just don't want to make mistakes, or try to reduce all of these mistakes to almost zero, because otherwise this stuff gets really demanding, I guess. And if you have set up a system like this is just dummy work. This is a work basically a computer in the future probably could do, but you need to do it right now because nobody else does it, or you have an employee who does it for you, which would also be possible because you can just share all of these different databases to different people, which is again a very nice function Notion has. Microsoft is actually developing something similar called Loop, but it's not available yet. And since I organize all of my other things in Microsoft, maybe I switch, but probably not, because thousands of entries in my core database are not very easily transferable. So this is the free long database. And these are the different videos you can already see on my channel. So these are the ones I have already posted. These are the ones that will be posted because they're green, they are planned, and then I don't have ideas in here in the core database. As of recently, I didn't have any ideas in here because I wanted to have them separate, and I actually collected them in my file manager, not my file, but my task manager called Microsoft To Do. But the problem was, every time you search for a specific task, all of these things are also keywords. This means all of these video titles would turn up, and this is the reason I now created two different databases. One ideas for short ideas, so basically for short videos, and one database. It's not really another database, it's a view. Let me correct this, it's a view of the same database. That's really crucial. So now, these are basically ideas I have collected over the years and I haven't made into something. These can be German, these can be English. Most of them nowadays are English, obviously, but these are all ideas I haven't yet turned into something. And you can just take something like this and then just the state and then record it, and then it shows up in these other databases once the filtered, so once the properties are in a way such that the filter then takes them into the different views. So these are the idea databases. I have one for long ideas because these are ideas I don't want to talk only 30 or 60 seconds about, and I have one for short ideas. The short idea also can be just kind of a script, but yeah, well. So then, the table is basically the one view you already saw, but it's the view of all the different things, but it doesn't, it's kind of very fragmented, you would say. So now we go into the code. What is the code database? The code database is the database for my blogs, for my blog posts. I call them code because scripted. And I turn them also into videos. That's the reason the form, for example, is page, because it lives on a blog. The primary platform, because, so, each media type has a primary platform, a native platform, you could say. And for visuals, and this is also why we have different files here, the file type can be something that's visual, something that's a video, or something that's an audio. These are the 3 file types. Everything else, a newspaper, for example. What is a newspaper? It's something that's visually consumable. A video is a video. A TV series is a video. A TV movie is a video. A cinema movie is a video. A podcast is an audio. I try to only store video files. Why? Because I store the visual stuff online, basically, or in Notion, so I don't have to have an extra file because it's all in this database. Ideally, I would write the blog posts also in Notion, and therefore I wouldn't have to. So currently, what I'm doing, whenever I write a blog post, I do it completely online, so therefore I don't store all of these different things, because this minimizes the risk of having alternative versions, which you then have to compare and see which version is more up to date, and then you have page conflicts and things like these, which just make working with content very not fun. So I have these 3 different types, and it's not really true anymore that I have also a visual file, because I don't have a visual file. I don't have a text file for these different things. So not these different things, but for this specific title, for example. So now, let's actually go into, this is the file type. The file type nowadays is only video, and I only track the file types I store on my hard drive as a single file. If it's a Word document, for example, then it would be visual, but since it is not a Word document anymore, basically the blog posts aren't visual anymore. So now let's actually explore on this database of code, and this is, you can actually hide the database title, but this shouldn't be called core, it should be called code. But let's actually hide it, because then it's even more sleeker, because you already see the title in the view. So let's actually hide the database title. So now you can see that, for example, Make Money Selling Stock Media, a piece I wrote in recent history, is available as a blog on the blog post, as a blog post. Then it's also available on YouTube as a screen recording of the blog post, and me basically voicing it as a podcast. And then you also have it available as podcast. Additionally, it's in English. The content type is core, because it's not music, and the copy is Instagram and Facebook. So basically, it is copied to Instagram and Facebook, which is not really true, because in the past I stored it as Instagram drafts, which would then be also published to Facebook, but Instagram, turns out, deletes all of these drafts, and you have to work with Creator Studio now, which is also, again, so nowadays it is possible to also distribute these files with Creator Studio to Instagram and Facebook at the same time. The only exception is Reels, so basically short videos on Instagram and Facebook, and Instagram on Instagram and Facebook. My pronunciation is pretty bad right now, and I am excusing my pronunciation. I cannot really do something about the past pronunciation now. Share, I didn't track the sharing of these different things. Link would be, here I have a link tree, which is, shouldn't be in here. And then I have, what else do I have? I have the native view, the comments, and these are all empty, as you can see. So I experimented a little bit with these different things called states. So I would have different things, for example. So this is my playback tag, and if it's posted, then I could just take it and move it to a different, but it turns out I like to do it with the tables. Then I also have a publishing calendar where all the publishing things, so this is basically the publishing schedule I have. So but keep in mind these, here are the daily videos not tracked. Then I have a record. This is basically for things, so I can actually show you the filters here. So there are 4 rules. So these are basically, this is whenever I have time to record, then I have all the entries where the record state is not recorded, where the state is not idea, because it's in the idea database, and I don't want to record it right now because it should not be an idea. It should also not be a draft, but the state should be finished basically. And then I have and record is not empty, because I haven't input anything yet. It's not empty. I don't quite understand it right now, but it works. So platform, I have also the shorts, all of the different shorts. As you can see right here, we have not the stitches, and then we have just a lot of different things here. And with the TikToks, for example, I also input the link just for quality control, but it takes a lot of time to input the link and copy paste the link. And well, then I have something for Tube. I do have a few different views, as you can see right here. Maybe let's go back to the free long video. And all of these different views, I have many views for music production, because these take so much organization, you could say. And yeah, well, these are basically, so all of these are, I basically also, in terms of naming the different views, I use these criteria I have and I apply, and I also have as properties in Notion. So, well, record is basically things to record, publish is the publishing calendar, state is something I experimented with but currently I'm not using. Then, yeah, well, stock is stock media. I have, for example, videos of flowers I then upload to Shutterstock maybe, and somebody buys it, and then I get a little bit of money. That's the idea behind stock media. And you then, as a video creator, can just use all of these different things, which I have actually recently thought about, because it would up the quality of my videos significantly, probably, at least the videos where I would use stock footage. And these are all for basically the different types of music, like low quality music recorded on my phone, with video, without video. And yeah, well, free video long is the thing that you are currently seeing. The short databases, basically all the shorts. So basically the short videos, I just call it short, but in terms of these different properties, it would be short video. It would be free short video, because I don't do scripted short videos as of right now. And that's basically how I organize all of these different media types, and also basically all of my file storage, because all of these, as of now, I actually can maybe open up a file explorer right now. So this is my file explorer, and I'm currently on my hard drive where I store all of the creative data I create. Creative because it's things I created. So now let's go into the video file. You also already see that I also organize my files with these properties. So these are the 3 different media types, and I store documents on my notebook, and I store media files externally, apart from the pictures, because I want to have them on my notebook. So now let's go into, so these are different categories of private consumption, you could say. And now let's go into the work category, and then I have the input. So these are new files I have from screen recording, from recording on my phone. These are just the input files basically, and then I track them in Notion, or I upload them to TikTok, because the TikToks, or the short videos in general, I upload to TikTok. I don't track them beforehand, but after the fact, because then they are already in chronological order, and I can check the chronological order by referencing TikTok. And that's very handy, because otherwise it would just be overwhelming to organize hundreds of short videos. Then I have a managed category where I store light tests, microphone tests, and things like these, but this is not really what you are in for here. So let's go actually into one of these folders. I just checked them before. So we are now in the folder, and this is also very nice because it creates these very short paths. They are not necessarily all the time very, maybe that's looks cleaner. So let's actually go into long, short, and so I have the things I have already posted, and it's also very nice because I can use the same criteria to also again sort. So this is basically the state. If I can time these things, it's in here for timing. If it's already posted, then it's in the post folder. If it's input, then it's in the input, and manage, again, I already mentioned. So let's actually go into post, and let's go into a long video. And then I have the coded ones, which are the podcast and also the videos screen recorded, as I already mentioned. And I have the free ones. And now I have basically all of these different videos. And as of now, these are all videos I haven't categorized into these different folders I have. But it doesn't really matter, because if I now have an ID, I can just go in here. I still have it in the copy paste, and I can just search for this ID, and then I have the file, and I can upload it to TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. And this is very handy, because then I can just take it and just put in here another window with YouTube, and this makes the whole process so easy, comparably easy. I could never have imagined, like 2 years before, how I would ever manage something like this. Maybe with Excel, but in Excel it's not really beautiful, but in Notion it is beautiful. I like the dark look. Notion also has now a completely dark design. Before it was kind of a bluish dark, but now it's completely dark. It's not entirely AMOLED black, but nevertheless it works really nice these days. So that's basically it. I also could maybe show you the input for the short videos. I just went back to these. So for example, the posted short videos are here. And then I have, when it comes to the short videos, because I sometimes use TikTok as a video editing tool and also to add sounds and music, mostly music, I have the original stored here. If it's a file I created before TikTok, and I then download them with an app called TickMate to distribute them to the other platforms. And the nice thing about downloading them is they are then in the right order. Because they are downloaded chronologically, because I download them one after the other and then name them after the modified ID, so the modified date, I then use as an ID, and this means they are in the completely right order and I don't have to search them, and this is an additional quality control measure. I think that sums up how I organize all the content I produce. These days mostly short and long videos, and also the podcast, which is also basically a blog post before, as I already mentioned like 10 times. And that's how you, and especially I, can organize these things. I don't think I will put this out as a template. Maybe if like too many people ask me if I could make this into a template, then I will maybe make this into a template, which is a function Notion actually has. So I can basically take out all the items and then post it as a template. And you can then just go in your Notion account. Notion is also free, by the way. And you can then just go in and under templates here, you then just, so you go on the website, you click on the template and download it to my Notion, and then you have the exact same database. And that's insane, because that's what I did with Thomas Frank's template, a YouTuber who showed me this in the first place, and then I built it out a little bit more. So I hope I could help you. This took basically all the managing work behind creating content, and this is the one thing that really made it possible, apart from a few other things like trimming down my setup to a phone and screen recording things and just accepting that the quality won't always be top notch. But this is how I create all of these different things for these social media platforms and how I manage them and track them.